Chapter 71 The Genius Hunting Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As expected, there were only wrong names, not wrong nicknames. The title Xianxia is really correct. When Xuanyu looked at it from a distance, he looked as if he were a fairy who had been banished from the mortal world. Coupled with strong strength and rare talent, it is even more awe-inspiring, but if you get up close, you will find that this woman seems to be too coquettish because she has drunk too much and is drunk. Han Yang had an idea and said with a smile. You don't need to pledge yourself to me. You just need to inquire about Xuanyu's disappearance for me. He recounted the disappearance of his cheap father-in-law Xuanyu in Zhenyuan Valley, as well as the grievances between the Chen family and the Li family. However, looking at Li Xuanyu's confused eyes, Han Yang seriously doubted whether she could remember what she said. After a long while, Li Xuanyu breathed a long sigh of relief, patted his chest and said, "Whatever big deal I take is a piece of cake, leave it to me." After saying that, without waiting for Han Yang to react, he left the secret room with the wine gourd. Han Yang was reborn as the 9th generation, and he had seen more than thousands of women with different personalities. But Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, is really unique. Half an hour later, Elder Mu appeared in the secret room again, holding a jade box and a wooden box in his arms. Junior brother Han. This is the special spiritual weapon that Deputy Sect Leader Tian asked me to give to you. He pushed the jade box in front of Han Yang. From the title of Elder Mu, Han Yang had clearly noticed that the Yuanman's attitude towards him had changed. With his cultivation of the 5th level of bone forging, he was actually called junior brother by an elder. It can be seen that the Yuanman has treated him as an elder figure in the late stage of bone forging or even at the peak of bone forging. Of course, Han Yang didn't care about this and opened the jade box casually. Inside the jade box, there is an exquisite silver mask. The mask is completely white except for a bloody lotus pattern between the eyebrows. Just such a mask, actually, a low-grade spiritual weapon. This surprised Han Yang. Combat weapons, such as swords, guns, swords and halberds, are already very rare. There are less than 20 items in total for all Yuan sect members. And special spiritual weapons like masks are even more cherished. Unexpectedly, the poor Yuanman Dingdangxiang would be willing to give himself such a good thing. Elder Mu proudly introduced, this mask has a powerful concealment function. Even the powerful Qi gatherer cannot see through it. Moreover, it can also hide one's cultivation and restrain one's aura, making it especially suitable for assassination and concealment. After saying this, he opened another wooden box. This sword is called Blood Lotus. It is the best among low-grade spiritual weapons. When used in conjunction with the Blood Lotus Heart technique, it has the effect of getting twice the result with half the effort. It can also absorb the blood and energy of the enemies it kills and hide it in the sword body. Therefore, it can be used in battles. The stronger, good guy, Yuanmen actually took out 2 low-grade spiritual weapons at once, which is definitely an unprecedented act. Han Yang's heart moved and he reacted. You want me to pretend to be someone? It's a mask, and it's a special Blood Lotus spirit sword. If it has no other purpose, then it's a damn thing. Elder Mu had an exaggerated expression that said you are very smart, and said, you are indeed an earth-level genius, so smart. The Blood Lotus mask and the Blood Lotus spirit sword are an incarnation created by my Yuan sect. Listening to Elder Mu's story, Han Yang couldn't help but give a thumbs up. As expected, a sect that can dominate the 9 cities in this county is not something that is easy to deal with. It turned out that as early as 5 years ago, the Yuanman had followed the arrangement and forged a genius who was only half as weak as Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal. This incarnation claims to be the Blood Lotus swordsman, claiming to be an earth-level genius, and has killed many geniuses from other sections. In fact, his true identity is a peak bone forging expert at the golden bone level. Even Su Xiren once put on a mask and walked around pretending to be the Blood Lotus swordsman. Yuanman's original idea was to set up a target to attract the attention of other sects and give other sects' geniuses time to grow. As a result, only 2 years after the plan was implemented, the heaven-level genius Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, turned out to be, making the Yuanman's calculations unnecessary. With Li Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, who is such a bright target, who cares about a mere earth-level genius, the Blood Lotus swordsman, As a result, the Blood Lotus swordsman disappeared from everyone's sight in the name of going out for training. This time, Han Yang showed his true Earth-level talent in the battle with Xianxia. Naturally, Yuan men would not let Han Yang become a living target like Xuanyu, the Wine and Sword Immortal. That's why he was asked to take over the identity of the Blood Lotus swordsman and join forces with the Wine Sword Immortal to make plans. In this way, even if the Earth-level talent is exposed, outsiders will only doubt the Blood Lotus swordsman, but not Han Yang. This is also a kind act to reduce trouble for Han Yang. It seems that the sect has a big plot this time. Han Yang sighed with emotion. If you don't want him to reveal his true identity, then Yuanman's plot must be very shocking. Elder Mu hesitated for a moment, but said bluntly, to be honest with junior brother Han, our target this time is the blue and white phoenix of Phoenix Mountain. Lan Baifeng. Han Yang seemed to feel that he had heard this woman's name somewhere. Elder Mu continued, Lan Baifeng is the proud daughter of Phoenix Mountain and a genius on earth. Now, she is only one step away from the Qi-gathering realm. Hearing that he was only one step away from the Qi-gathering realm, Han Yang finally remembered who this woman was, and his face became strange. If I remember correctly, Xuanyu, the cheap father-in-law, once fought against Lan Baifeng, who was at the 8th level of bone forging when he was rising. It was precisely because of that battle that Xuanyu became famous and became the #1 young talent in Zhenyuan. According to Xuanyu himself, Lan Baifeng took a fancy to his beauty and planned to take him back to be her husband. At that time, Han Yang and Xianxia only listened to it as a joke. Xuanyu, that old man, is not a handsome guy, so how could anyone take a fancy to his beauty? Now that I think about it, when I had not yet awakened my memory, I was really naive and had no idea what it meant to be an Earth-level genius. Could this Lan Baifeng be my cheap mother-in-law? If true, it would be embarrassing. Han Yang's expression became a little strange. Elder Mu thought that Han Yang was wondering why Phoenix Mountain was involved, so he explained to himself, the matter of the ruins has actually involved many forces. Although only the Burning Heaven clan is taking action, Chu, one of the 10 masters of Phoenix Mountain, Renfeng, it is said, has also arrived in Taicheng, obviously to protect Lan Baifeng. Ruins have the greatest effect on geniuses. Lan Baifeng will never miss this opportunity. Han Yang didn't care about this, and just said calmly, this matter will definitely delay a lot of time for me to enter the ruins. I hope the sect can compensate me. Elder Mu stared at the Blood Lotus mask and Blood Lotus spirit sword on the table with wide eyes. 2 low-grade spiritual weapons are not enough. You know, even some of the Yuan sect's powerful Qi gatherers are still unable to produce a low-grade spiritual weapon in their hands. Under the gathering energy, only 2 peerless geniuses, Su Ziran and Li Xuanyu, are qualified to hold spiritual weapons. This guy Han Yang is really what those old men from Duan said. He is a little money addict. Chapter 72 The Genius's Nightmare Arrives. You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the beginning, Han Yang directly climbed to the 6th place on the heaven ranking list, second only to the 5th place of Li Xuanyu, the Wine and Sword Immortal. The overall list even entered the top 100, ranking 98th. Su Ziran reported it to the sect at that time, suspecting that Han Yang might be a heaven-level genius, but because Han Yang was only at the 3rd level of bone forging at that time, the sect could not determine his talent. But now, Han Yang not only reached the 5th level of bone forging, but also forcibly killed Xianxia, the Earth-level genius of Burning Heaven clan, in the hands of Xiao Bieli, who was at the peak of Jade Bone. Even if he is not a heaven-level genius, he is definitely an Earth-level genius. Such talent is definitely worth the huge price the sect pays. Therefore, Elder Mu hesitated for a moment and said, what do you want, junior brother Han? I have already said it first, the spiritual weapon is definitely gone. Li Xuanyu, the Wine Sword Immortal, brought back 3 spiritual weapons today, which almost caused the Qi gathering power in the sect to become brainless. Even the severed spiritual sword was snatched away by a 2nd-level Qi gathering power. It is conceivable that if Han Yang opens his mouth and asks for another spiritual weapon, no matter how much Yuan men values him, he will never agree. Han Yang didn't say anything, but placed the snow-defying knife on his waist in front of Elder Mu. A low-grade spiritual weapon? No, it seems to be a middle-grade spiritual weapon. Elder Mu took a breath of air, as if he saw a ghost. How could this new disciple, who was born in the small city of Luo City and had been in the industry for less than 10 days, still have a low-grade spiritual weapon in his hand. Since when did spiritual weapons become so worthless? No wonder when he took out the Blood Lotus Spirit Sword and Blood Lotus Mask just now, the other party looked disapproving and did not jump for joy as he should have. He thought it was because Han Yang had a cold personality and could not express his emotions or anger. Now it seems that people don't care at all. With Elder Mu's eyesight, it can be seen that if this white spiritual sword is not damaged, it is definitely a middle-grade spiritual weapon. Even if it is damaged, it is still the best among low-grade weapons. This kid, with the 5th level of bone forging and 3 spiritual weapons, is simply too wealthy. Han Yang said calmly, I don't want any spiritual weapons. I just want to get some information about Xuanyu in Luo City from the sect. Xuanyu. Elder Mu's mouth twitched fiercely. This was no less difficult than asking for a low-grade spiritual weapon. When Xuanyu gathered his energy and first achieved his magical power, he defeated everyone in the Yuan sect and became disgraced. Just like phone booping, there are quite a few Yuan men chi-gathering powers who wish to eat Xuanyu's flesh and blood raw. If Han Yang hadn't directly entered the overall rankings, given his status, he would probably have been eaten alive by those hateful chi-gathering masters. I'll try my best. Elder Mu, who had a stern expression, took out a stack of documents and changed the topic. Before slaying Lan Baifeng, your first target is Duan Chongqing of the Burning Heaven clan. This man is a first-class genius, at the peak of the 6th level of the Golden Bone, forging more than 60 bones. Before Xianxia appeared, he was the #1 genius of the Burning Heaven clan in the past 5 years. He is proficient in the Burning Sun sword technique of the Burning Heaven clan. Han Yang chuckled and said, Jiu's sword immortal has killed so many people from the Burning Heaven clan. Will the Burning Heaven clan be stupid enough to let these disciples stay in Zhenyuan Valley, waiting for us to kill them? A genius on Earth level, a person at the peak of Jade Bones, 3 people at the peak of Golden Bone, this kind of loss would definitely strain the Yuan clan and shake its foundation. Even if the Burning Heaven clan was stronger than the Yuan clan, the losses would still be huge. As long as they are not idiots, they should first evacuate the geniuses from Zhenyuan Valley, and at least understand the cause of death of Wu Han's Han and others. Elder Mu was silent for a while, and then said, An hour ago, the Burning Heaven clan fought with my Yuan clan, and Grand Prince Yuqi was defeated and killed. These words made the smile on Han Yang's face slowly fade. It turns out that it wasn't that the Burning Heaven clan didn't want to withdraw the genius, but the Yuan clan took the life of a chi-gathering power and forcibly delayed it. Does it worth? Han Yang didn't know, but he heard Yuanman's determination from Elder Mu's words, Your Majesty Yuqi. Han Yang vaguely remembered this person. At the end of Dengshanbang, this person was still with Tianji and others and wanted to accept him as his disciple. Unexpectedly, in just a few days, a master from the sect died directly. Don't worry, Duan Chongqing will die. Picking up the Blood Lotus Mask and the Blood Lotus Spirit Sword, Han Yang suddenly stood up and walked towards the outside. Elder Mu, and even the chi-gathering masters of the Yuan sect, didn't know what a terrifying nightmare they had unleashed. Zhenyuan Valley, in the dense forest on the south slope, Duan Chongqing sat cross-legged and regained his strength. An old man in black robes on the side said solemnly, Master, there is something wrong with the wind. Duan Chongqing opened his eyes and said indifferently, So what? Genius, the pride of being a genius. In Duan Chongqing's view, Zhenyuan Valley at this time was his hunting ground. He had even given up searching for the ruins and concentrated on hunting down Yuanmen geniuses. So far, 2 second-grade geniuses have died at his hands, but Duan Chongqing still felt that it was not enough. If it weren't for the vast area of Zhenyuan Valley and the top geniuses of the Yuan sect could not be encountered for a while, he felt that he could hunt down those first-level geniuses. This time, the old man did not stop reminding him because of his inferior status, and continued to persuade. In the morning, we also encountered several hunting teams of our sect, but since 2 hours ago, there have been no more hunting teams. I met any of our teams. Duan Chongqing was a little impatient at first, but his expression suddenly changed. Could it be that Xiao succeeded? That the matter of trapping and killing Li Xuanyu was considered a top secret, but it could not be hidden from Duan Chongqing, because Duan Qihua, the ancestor of the Duan family, is one of the most powerful chi gatherers of the Fenchen clan. The old man's expression suddenly changed. He nodded and said, "If this is really the case, then we are in danger. Li Xuanyu is a heaven-level genius, the future hope of Yuan men. If Li Xuanyu was killed by Wu Hanshan and others, Yuan men would definitely take revenge wildly." "Withdraw." Duan Chongqing stood up suddenly without hesitation. "If Li Xuanyu dies, the Yuan clan will definitely ignore it, and even those powerful chi gatherers will withdraw from the main battlefield at all costs, descend to Zhenyuan Valley, and massacre all the disciples of the burning Tian clan. If you stay here any longer, wouldn't you be standing under a dangerous wall?" "Who is it? Get out!" Just when they were about to leave, the old man in black robes suddenly waved his sleeves, and a bright light shot out from his hand and disappeared into the front of the dense forest. Boom! An ancient tree with a diameter of 1 foot was directly penetrated, and a dancer wearing a green robe flashed out from behind the ancient tree. Under the dappled sunlight, Duan Chongqing saw that the other party's face was as pale as paper, but there was a strange bright red between his eyebrows. No. It was not a real face, but a white mask. Blood Lotus Swordsman. The moment he saw the mask on the other person's face clearly, the voice of the old man in black robes suddenly rose an octave higher. He never expected that the Blood Lotus Swordsman, who had disappeared from everyone's sight since Li Xuanyu was born, would actually appear in front of the two of them. "It's him?" Duan Chongqing was stunned for a moment, then a ferocious smile appeared on his face. "Ha ha ha, there are rumors that he is a genuine Earth-level genius. I thought I could only kill a few losers this time and came back empty-handed. I didn't expect my luck. Not bad. He even gave me a big gift before leaving." Sanwang. Duan Chongqing simply gave up and left, and quickly drew the sword from his waist. In his eyes, there was boiling fighting spirit. As long as he kills the Blood Lotus Swordsman, he will definitely be fully trained by the sect, and his status will never be lower than that of the Earth-level genius Xianxia. Chapter 73: The Double Act Between Han Yang and Li Xuanyu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Master, the Blood Lotus Swordsman has been famous for a long time. You must not be careless. The old man in black robe also slowly drew out his sword. He didn't want to miss the opportunity to kill the Blood Lotus Swordsman. The Blood Lotus Swordsman was at the 5th level of bone forging when he was hiding. Now 3 years have passed, and no one knows how far he has grown. If he was really the rumored Earth-level genius, he might have already cultivated to the 7th or even 8th level of the Golden Bone. If this were the case, it would not be them hunting the Blood Lotus Swordsman, but the Blood Lotus Swordsman hunting them. Duan Chongqing burst out laughing. "Third uncle, you are worrying too much. This Blood Lotus Swordsman is just a 5th level Gold Bone man." That when the Blood Lotus Swordsman jumped out of the tree, Duan Chongqing happened to see the light shining from his bones. No wonder this guy suddenly disappeared 3 years ago. It turned out that there was something wrong with the bone forging. 3 years have passed and you are still stuck in the 5th level of bone forging. Hee, then you can't blame yourself for accepting this great gift from Yuan men. The person who appeared in front of Duan Chongqing was naturally Han Yang. Facing the coveted look flashing in the other person's eyes, Han Yang had a sneer on his face. In a world where the strong eats the weak, there are only 2 choices, killing and being killed. Kill. He let out a soft cry and unsheathed the Blood Lotus Spirit sword in his hand, blooming into a coquettish and sharp bloody lotus. It is the unique skill that the Blood Lotus Swordsman became famous for. Even Elder Mu might not have thought that Han Yang would master the Blood Lotus Heart technique and the Blood Lotus Sword technique within a few hours after giving them to him, just like a real Blood Lotus Swordsman. It seems, it really only has the 5th level of Golden Bones. Ha ha ha. What he has in his hands is a spiritual weapon. Master, God is not kind to you. The old man in black robes smiled ferociously, roared and pounced with his sword. He was a person who was at the peak of the 7th level of bone forging, only 1 step away from the 8th level of bone forging. He's mine. Duan Chongqing also shouted coldly, catching up from behind. How could such an opportunity to kill a former genius be missed? On the long sword, golden light flashed. Like a scorching sun rising in the void, several rays of sword light were projected onto Han Yang's face, causing Han Yang's eyes to narrow slightly in excitement. However, he did not dodge and swung his sword forward. When There was a crisp sound, the long sword in Duan Changsheng's hand was cut off with a single slash, the blood lotus spirit sword brushed across Duan Changsheng's shoulder. With this sword, Han Yang did not use the power of the stars, but only used the inherent power of the 5th level of gold and bone. Master, be careful with the spiritual weapon in his hand. The old man in black robe swung his sword and stabbed Han Yang in the back of the heart, then Duan Changsheng backed away. Mine. It's all mine. Although the sword was broken and a blood groove was cut on his shoulder, Duan Changsheng not only did not feel depressed at all, but became even more excited, because, with this sword strike just now, he tested out the depth of the blood lotus swordsman. It's really just the 5th level of golden bones, and it's the 5th level of forged bones that only temper 16 golden bones. This level of cultivation is not as good as mine. If he hadn't relied on the power of the spiritual weapon, he could have knocked away the blood lotus swordsman's sword with that move just now, kill the blood lotus swordsman and seize the low-grade spiritual weapon. It was like a double happiness. Duan Changsheng, holding a broken sword, pounced again. The old man in black robe on the side was extremely skilled. He stabbed Han Yang's vitals with all his moves, but he did not come into contact with the blood lotus spirit sword. After a few moves, Han Yang was actually forced to take several steps back. Forging hundreds of bones, it was a bit of a miscalculation. Han Yang originally wanted to put on a show and force Duan Changsheng to ask for help, but now the presence of the old man in black robe has become an obstacle. The 5th level of golden bones is equivalent to 40 or 50 forged bones, and the strength on the surface is not half as good as this old man. It stands to reason that the blood lotus swordsman is not enough to take down this old man. I didn't expect that the first time I took action, my character would be destroyed. Han Yang sighed, and the power of the stars in the golden bones surged out instantly. You must force me. If I die, I will drag you to be buried with me. Secretly preparing a killing move, Han Yang roared hysterically. The wail of a defeated dog. That the black-robed old man's sword is as fast as the other, and each sword is more cunning than the last. Puff. The long sword cut through Han Yang's green robe and almost cut his arm. You forced me. Han Yang roared wildly and swung his sword extremely fast. There were a few starlights on the bloody lotus, and the speed of the sword soared. The old man in black robe was caught off guard and hit the blood lotus spirit sword directly. Click. The sword in his hand broke directly. The next moment, the blood lotus spirit sword slashed across the old man's neck, seal the throat with one sword. And Han Yang's aura instantly weakened, as if he had been severely injured after using a forbidden technique. Third uncle. Duan Changsheng screamed in disbelief and sighed in his heart. An earth-level genius is an earth-level genius. A skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Even if he only has the 5th level of golden bone now, he cannot be underestimated. Duan Changsheng's heart trembled when he saw the blood lotus swordsman rushing towards him with scarlet eyes. He knew that he and his third uncle were still careless. A former earth-level genius like the blood lotus swordsman was simply not something they could kill. Puff. Duan Changsheng took advantage of the opportunity before the blood lotus swordsman pounced, and directly released a signal for help, and a brilliant firework rose. The next moment, he heard the blood lotus swordsman chuckle. Wouldn't it have been easier this way? What? Before Duan Changsheng could figure out what was happening, his head was flying high into the air. This speed is not at all the 5th level of the golden bone. He is deliberately fishing for me to send out a signal for help. The moment the darkness fell in front of his eyes, Duan Changsheng finally understood the truth, and infinite sadness arose in his heart. A first-class genius, the 6th level peak of the golden bone, is actually just a bait for fishing. What a blood lotus swordsman! I wonder what the status of this immortal life is within the Burning Heaven clan, and how many people it can attract. Han Yang stood with his sword in hand, waiting for the big fish to take the bait. Boom. After only half a stick of incense, 3 figures appeared in sight, a 7th level peak of bone forging, a peak jade bone 6th level, an 8th level of bone forging. 2 guardians protect 1 person, which shows that the identity of this jade bone realm genius is not ordinary. It's Duan Changsheng. He's actually dead. That when they saw Duan Changsheng's body, the 3 of them looked horrified. A first-class genius died so quietly. Immediately afterwards, the three of them looked nervously at Han Yang, who was standing with a sword. Blood Lotus Swordsman. No. Master, leave quickly. That the expressions of the two guardians changed at the same time, and then they attacked Han Yang to buy time for the young man who was at the peak of the 6th level of Jade Bones. Swing the sword. Just when Han Yang was about to switch to the Xuanyu Dao and kill these two people, he heard a message from Xuanyu, the Wine Sword Immortal. Qi gathering and sound transmission is also a method that can only be used in the Qi gathering state. After the persona of Bone Forging Peak was exposed, Xianxia no longer hid various Qi gathering techniques. Han Yang understood it and said coldly, "You dare to swing your sword in front of me even though you are at the 8th level of bone forging, so die." After drinking lightly, Han Yang casually swung his sword. The next moment, a bloody lotus bloomed. If you smell it carefully, there is still a hint of wine aroma contained in it. Poof. One was at the 7th level of bone forging, and the other was at the 8th level. Without even a chance to dodge, his hands and head were shattered by the bloody lotus. The 6th level Jade Bone genius who had just escaped 20 feet away was already frightened. This Blood Lotus Swordsman is stronger than rumored. Boom. Another firework for help went up. Are you coming or should I? Han Yang asked with a smile. I come. A sword energy with the aroma of wine bloomed, taking away the life of the Jade Bone genius. I don't know if it was an illusion, but Han Yang always felt that there was a little joy in Li Xuanyu's voice that he had succeeded in mischief. It seems that killing these three people is just the beginning of the game. Chapter 74. The Blood Lotus Swordsman escaped. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Stop. In the dense forest not far away, a delicate-looking woman was about to rush to where the fireworks for help were rising, but was stopped by someone beside her. Senior Brother Zhang. That's Duan Changxing's signal for help. Although the delicate woman has the peak level of Jade Bone at the 6th level, she looks very immature and has no idea of danger. On the other hand, Senior Brother Zhang, who was at the peak of the 7th level of Jade Bone, had a stern expression and sharp eyes. Zhenyuan, I know you care about longevity, but, look at the second signal. Senior Brother Zhang looked helplessly at the pretty woman, trying to please her in every possible way. Unfortunately, the woman only had Duan Changxing, a first-class genius, in her heart. He was obviously a talented person, but he acted so recklessly after encountering Duan Changxing. Mao Jingyue's steps stagnated, and she subconsciously looked at the signal in the sky that had not yet dissipated. Is that Lu Ye's signal for help? A look of surprise finally appeared on her pretty face. Although Lu Yi and he were both at the peak of the 6th level of Jade Bone, she was only a 2nd-level genius, while Lu Yi was a 1st-level genius. More importantly, Lu Ye's identity is the 4th young master of the Lu family of Burning Heaven clan, and he is accompanied by 2 protectors of the Lu family. It can make Lu Yedu send out a signal for help, which shows that the identity of the enemy they encountered is not simple. Senior Brother Zhang's expression was solemn, but there was fighting spirit boiling in his eyes. Genius, and there are a few people who don't want to stifle their equally talented opponents. Mao Jingyue asked carefully, what about us? Wait. Wait for more people to show up, at least, a few more masters from the same discipline. Senior Brother Zhang has reached the 7th level of peak Jade Bone and has 108 forged bones, which is already equivalent to the average peak forged bone, but he forcibly suppressed his fighting spirit, because Lu Ye's signal for help was released too quickly. With less than half a stick of incense, 2 signals for help were sent out one after another, which was really unusually fast. Didn't it mean that Su Ziren was dragged down by Meng Lianhua, and the Zhejiangxian's traces were erratic and did not appear in Yanhua Valley? Is there any other genius in Yuanmen who has the strength to ask Lu Yi for help? Senior Brother Zhang's mind was filtering through the names of various geniuses that had appeared in Yuanmen within 10 years, but he couldn't find a clue. Han Yang sat cross-legged, with the Blood Lotus Spirit sword lying across his knees. If it weren't for the 5 corpses next to it, people who saw this scene might have thought that this was some kind of holy land for practicing martial arts. After Lu Ye's call for help was released, the forest fell into an eerie silence. A stick of incense has passed and no one has appeared. Han Yang was not in a hurry. He is waiting. The Blood Lotus Swordsman was the best target, and he didn't believe that the Burning Heaven clan's people wouldn't be fooled. Whizzing. Just when he was operating the Blood Lotus Heart technique to the key point, two sounds of breaking through the air sounded simultaneously, one on the left and one on the right. One is at the 8th level of peak bone forging, and the other is at the 6th level of jade bone. He's mine. Han Yang jumped up, and the Blood Lotus spiritual sword in his hand was like a spiritual snake, piercing the 6th level of the jade bone. Snort. From the secret place, there was a grunt of displeasure, as if a toy had been robbed. The next moment, a lotus flower bloomed in front of the peak of the 8th level of bone forging. Who? How is it possible? The person at the 8th level of bone forging was very shocked. The Blood Lotus Swordsman's sword is clearly pointed at the jade bone's 6th level. Why does the Blood Lotus sword light appear in front of him? Before he could figure out what was happening, the sharp sword light cut him into pieces like a dead body. He was at the peak of the 8th level of bone forging, but he didn't even make a counterattack like this. Uncle Hu, the young man with the 6th level of jade bone let out a shrill roar and fended off Han Yang's attack in a panic. Han Yang did not use the power of the stars at all, but simply used the power of the golden bones to kill him, causing him to stagger back and lose one after another. Dang dang dang. After 3 weapons exchanges, the sword in the young man's hand cracked and broke. Low-grade spiritual weapon. Don't kill me, I am the Yu family of Fenchen clan. However, amidst the young man's desperate screams, he had his throat pierced directly by the Blood Lotus spirit sword. What a complete idiot. When the protector died in battle, he lost his will to fight. He was actually killed by me with my 5th level of gold and bone strength. This man's performance was far inferior to Duan Changshan, which made Han Yang sneer. Just when he was about to sheath his sword, a black shadow jumped down from the ancient tree on the side. Boom. The spear was like a dragon, directly bursting all the branches of ancient trees in its path, like a dragon emerging from the abyss, the 9th level of bone forging. In an instant, Han Yang saw through this person's cultivation. Not only was this man powerful, but he also knew how to be patient. He actually used a jade bone realm genius as bait to lure Han Yang into taking the bait. At the moment when Han Yang was most relaxed, he suddenly took action. He thought he had succeeded, but he didn't see the smile on Han Yang's lips under the mask. After being reborn in the 9th life, how could Han Yang be as careless as a young bird? At the moment when the 9th level of bone forging took out the gun, a blood lotus with the fragrance of wine bloomed. Liquor. This 9th level bone forging master was indeed astute. He actually smelled the aroma of wine in the blood lotus and made a guess. Unfortunately, he only had time to say one word before a water sword pierced his head. Senior sisterly, can you cover up the smell of wine when you do it? Han Yang reminded him kindly. The woods were silent, and Li Xuanyu's reply was not heard at all. At this moment, 5 figures suddenly appeared near Han Yang, surrounding him. Among them were senior brother Zhang and Mao Jingyue just now, as well as 3 old men in black, 1 at the 9th level of bone forging and 2 at the 8th level. Blood Lotus Swordsman, I haven't seen you for 3 years, but you can actually kill the 9th level of bone forging? There was fear in senior brother Zhang's eyes, but more importantly, he was excited. Killing the Blood Lotus Swordsman would be the supreme honor of becoming famous among the 8 sects of Nanjun. However, a flash of disappointment flashed in Han Yang's eyes. Weak. Too weak. Even if they kill all these people, it won't be enough to attract geniuses like Lan Baifeng. These people can't get into Lan Baifeng's eyes. Apart from Xianxia, don't you Burning Heaven clan have any other talented people who can do it? Han Yang asked in a chatty tone. The faces of the 3 old men in black became a little ugly. Senior brother Zhang said angrily, arrogant. You. Before she finished her sentence, Mao Jingyue beside her suddenly let out a shrill cry. Immortality. She discovered Duan Changshan's headless body and burst into tears instantly. I kill you. The woman who was carried away by love rushed towards Han Yang desperately with a long sword in hand. Protect junior sister Mao. Senior brother Zhang secretly cursed for stupidity and had no choice but to rush to the rescue with a sword. The Blood Lotus Swordsman can attack the 9th level of bone forging, so if Mao Jingyue rushes over, she is seeking death. Kill. The 3 old men in black robes also used their unique skills at this moment, attacking Han Yang's vital points. Han Yang was waiting for Li Xuanyu's wine Blood Lotus to bloom, but senior brother Zhang's knife had already slashed with blazing heat, and Xuanyu didn't react at all. "Are you angry?" Han Yang was a little dumbfounded at first, and then suddenly had an idea and vaguely guessed Xuanyu's intention. "Blood Lotus," He swung his sword smoothly, blooming a blood lotus, and stabbed one of the 8th level bone forgings, and then ran away without looking back. The familiar wine-scented blood lotus rises. This time, he only repelled the black-robed old man who was at the 8th level of bone forging, but did not kill him. He seemed to have insufficient strength. This kid must have used forbidden magic and secret techniques before, causing his blood to be exhausted now. "Don't let him run away." Brother Zhang, who was overjoyed, took the lead and pursued fiercely with a knife. Chapter 75. Let Han Yang be a concubine. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Yang used the power of the stars to activate the magic cloud steps and ran all the way. If they just massacre blindly, they will only scare away the people of Burning Heaven clan, but they will not be able to catch more powerful people. Only by making the Burning Heaven clan disciples feel that they can take advantage will more people take the bait. The escape of Blood Lotus Swordsman immediately aroused the desire to hunt and kill senior brother Zhang and others, the 5 people shouted. And chased all the way. After all, Mtlnovel was only at the 6th level of Jade Bone. She was left far behind after less than half a stick of incense, but there are not only many people chasing the Blood Lotus Swordsman, but there are 2 more. These 2 people also have the 8th level of bone forging, and they actually left the genius disciples they wanted to protect and turned around to chase Han Yang. It can be seen that in their minds, killing an Earth-level genius Blood Lotus Swordsman is more important than protecting those 1st and 2nd level genius disciples. After chasing and escaping for half an hour, more and more people were following Han Yang. Zhenyuan Valley. A man in black robe stood on top of the ancient tree, looking indifferently towards the direction of Zhenyuan Valley. "Your Majesty," a disciple of the bone forging realm came over very quickly and said urgently, "Duan Chongsheng and Lu Ye's life talismans were shattered. 3 of the protectors have died. The sect suspects that someone is hunting down the geniuses of our sect." The man in black robe looked surprised. "We have held back the Yuan sect Qi gathering realm experts, but there is still someone who can attack and kill the genius of our sect." The bone forging realm disciple bowed his head humbly, his heart filled with awe. Over the past few days, the battle between Burning Heaven clan and Yuan clan continued. There was even a Qi gathering powerhouse in Yuanmen that fell. This was a cruel decisive battle that had not happened in the past 100 years. It made all the disciples tremble with fear. The face of the man in black robes suddenly changed. Could it be that the Xianxian was killing people in Zhenyuan Valley? Just as he was making his guess, there was a person in the distance stepping on the tree crown and shooting towards him like a meteor. Astonishingly, he was a peak bone forging elder. "Your Majesty." News came from the sect that the life talismans of Shao Xian and Wu Hanshan were shattered. The immortal hunting plan failed. Click. The branches under the black-robed man's feet cracked. How is this possible? He was in disbelief at first, and then murmured to himself, "No wonder a few hours ago, there was a battle in the direction of Yuan men, and old man Yuqi fell. Is it because of this? The immortal hunting plan fails, and the Burning Heaven clan will inevitably take revenge on the Yuan clan." This allowed the man in black robe to guess the cause of the battle a few hours ago. The battlefield was divided into several parts, and the transmission of information was too time-consuming. The news was actually so far behind. The face of the man in black robe gradually turned gloomy. If he had received this news earlier, he would have gained something by directly entering Zhenyuan Valley during the previous battle. Unfortunately, it's too late now. Chirp. The sound of a goshawk's call came from overhead, and it was extremely clear from far to near. The next moment, a figure descended from the sky and landed on the tree crown, causing the ancient branches and leaves to sway. Senior brother Lu. The man in black robe couldn't help but be surprised when he saw the person coming. Lu Xiongfei, one of the 3 powerful masters of the 2nd level of Qi gathering in Burning Heaven clan, was rumored to be in retreat to attack the 3rd level of Qi gathering. How could he appear here? Is it for the children of the Lu family? Lu Yi. The bearded Lu Xiongfei looked a little wild and unruly, but his eyes were full of coldness at this time. I stopped that old man foam booping. You, rush into Zhenyuan Valley and wipe out all the Yuanmen disciples in Zhenyuan Valley, that the words that came out of Lu Xiongfei's mouth were even more full of blood. Good, that the man in black robe realized that he might have underestimated the importance of Lu Yi, the junior, in Lu Xiongfei's mind. Unexpectedly, the attack on the third level of Qi gathering was delayed because of a Jade Bone Jr., then Lu Yi, isn't he the illegitimate son of Lu Xiongfei's old tree blooming? As soon as the man in black robe had this idea, he saw Lu Xiongfei rising into the sky, and his voice sounded like thunder. Phone booping, old man. Xuanyu lost the first battle. Rumors say you were frightened to death. Now, do you have the courage to fight with me? That this sentence is tantamount to touching phone booping's reverse scale. There was light flickering somewhere on the edge of Zhenyuan Valley, and the shadow of the gun was like an angry dragon soaring into the sky. Lu Manzi, you are too arrogant, die, that the two Qi gathering two great powers instantly fought madly together. The surrounding ancient trees were swept away by the aftermath of the fight, and the entire Zhenyuan Valley was in chaos. Taking advantage of the chaos, the man in black robe calmed down, stood up and disappeared in front of everyone. As for the two bone-forging realms just now, they were all trembling with fear at this time. If his supreme being really kills all the geniuses in Zhenyuan Valley, then the Yuan clan will definitely fight to the death with the Burning Heaven clan. At that time, they are afraid that they will be implicated. What exactly is hidden in the Zhenyuan Valley ruins that makes the two sects so crazy, that they both looked in the direction of Zhenyuan Valley in confusion? Dozens of miles away, somewhere in a dense forest, a figure dressed in blue, flying through the woods like a phoenix, suddenly stopped and looked towards the direction where Feng Buping and Lu Xiongfei were fighting. With such strong gun intent and violent fighting intent, are they Feng Lizi and Lu Manzi? How come these two guys are fighting each other to the death? As soon as the woman in blue had this idea, she heard a scolding in her ear. Bai Feng, remember your purpose and don't be troublesome. That this woman is none other than Lan Bai Feng, the proud daughter of Phoenix Mountain. Hearing the voice ringing in his ears, Lan Bai Feng raised his eyebrows. Are you teaching me how to do things? There was no response from the woods, obviously not wanting to offend her. Humph. If you hadn't been so troublesome and beat my little fish away, why would I be single now? If you dare to take care of me again, believe it or not, I will drug you to stun you and throw you to a brothel to pick up customers. Lan Bai Feng gritted his teeth, feeling a lot of resentment in his heart. Still no echo from the woods. This time, I heard that his son-in-law has entered Yuanmen. I want to take him away to be my concubine. Don't stop me anymore. Lan Bai Feng left a word, and the figure turned into a blue phoenix and disappeared into the ancient forest. In Zhenyuan Valley, a figure in mysterious clothes shuttled back and forth between the ancient trees like a nimble ape. This way. The wings of his nose moved, as if he smelled something. A sneer appeared on the face of Xian Yi, Jiu Sword Immortal. If you haven't gathered your energy yet, today, you will die under my coiling dragon spear. Several figures jumped up and jumped towards the east. In the flash of golden light, it was a peak bone forging master with golden bone level, 206 bones, shining brightly. The blood Lotus swordsman showed up. Next to an ancient tree, there was a young man with a stern face. His expression changed slightly as he touched the carvings on the ancient tree. An old man in black next to the young man said, "Young master, the blood Lotus swordsman is an earth-level genius. Now 3 years later, I am afraid he has reached the peak of the golden bone. We'd better not provoke this person." The stern young man shouted indifferently, "Elder Wu, you are worrying too much. If the blood Lotus swordsman is really the pinnacle of golden bones, how dare those losers Zhang Ziyuan dare to chase him?" The old man was startled and then fell silent. The young man twirled the flying knife in his hand and said calmly, "This is an opportunity. If I can kill the blood Lotus swordsman with the flying knife technique, Xiao Xian's current status will be mine." The old man opened his mouth, as if he still wanted to persuade, but when he thought of the enviable training resources obtained by the earth-level genius Xiao Xian, he finally chose to remain silent. Walk. The figure of the stern young man disappeared in a flash. The old man in black followed closely. In Zhenyuan Valley, things are changing. Because of Han Yang's deliberate provocation, all the Burning Heaven clan geniuses in the valley gathered towards him. no one knows that they have fallen into a gradually tightening net. Chapter 76 The Killing Begins. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Yang is still on the run. There were no less than 10 people in the team chasing behind him, and the weakest among them was also the 8th level of bone forging or the 7th level of jade bone. I've never heard that this blood Lotus swordsman's Qin Gong is so powerful, it's really hidden. No matter what, this kid will die today. Everyone in the chasing team was extremely evil. In the previous pursuit, 3 or 4 people were forced too close and fought against the blood Lotus swordsman. As a result, they almost died under the blood Lotus, so at this time, they wanted to tear each other alive. Han Yang was running wildly when his ears suddenly twitched. It's time. Do it. Let's do it. The voices of Han Yang and Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal, sounded almost at the same time. There was silence for a moment. They're mine. Don't grab it from me. The two spoke in unison again. Han Yang was speechless for a while. You, a powerful qi gatherer, have the nerve to attack these little shrimps in the bone-forging realm? Snort. Li Xuanyu's cooing sound suddenly came to his ears, causing Han Yang to stumble, and he was almost stabbed by a spear fired from behind. This woman is really childish. It looks like a fairy when viewed from a distance, but when viewed up close, it's hard to describe in words. Listen to me, I have a special skill, white tiger killing. The more people you kill, the more powerful your combat power will be. If you really catch a blue and white phoenix, you can use it to save your life. To deal with such a cute and playful Xianxia, Han Yang could only tell the truth. This time, there was no sound in her ears. Thinking about it, she acquiesced to Han Yang's decision. The next moment, Han Yang paused. Kill. Zhenyuan was chasing vigorously, and without doubting that he was there, he slashed him with his sword. At the same time, swords, guns, swords and halberds, as well as various weapons, covered all Han Yang's retreat routes. Among them, 3 of the 9th level bone forging masters shook the void and blasted Han Yang with their elemental power from afar. By this time, Han Yang was too lazy to act and looked at these people with a faint smile. A few of them were alert, but it was too late. Zheng. There was a sound of sword sound. 13 water swords turned into wine were shining with a coquettish light, shooting towards everyone who came towards them. Drunken sword immortal. Powerful energy gathering. In an instant, everyone present felt a bone-chilling chill. No one expected that Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, would actually be hiding behind the blood Lotus swordsman. What's even more frightening is that Xuanyu, the wine swordsman who was rumored to have been stuck at the peak of bone forging for a full year, has actually broken through and entered the realm of qi gathering. Trap. This is a complete trap. At this moment, a feeling of despair arose in everyone's heart. Facing the Xianxian who was in the qi gathering realm, they had no power to fight back. Bang 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 bang. One after another, water swords struck the body of the pursuing warrior in an instant. Their bones were as fragile as paper, and they were all shattered by the water sword. All. Zhenyuan and others screamed, only to realize that none of them were dead. How could a person as powerful as the wine sword immortal take action, and not die? And at the moment when this thought just came up, a flash of tragic sword light flashed in front of everyone. Puff 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 puff. The sword light was like an electric arc, jumping between a dozen burning heaven clan masters. At other times, any one of them might be able to fight, but now, with their bones shattered and their bodies seriously injured, they had no ability to resist and were killed at the first glance. Heads flew up one after another, and blood flowed like a waterfall. 13 strong men died inexplicably under Han Yang's sword. Han Yang holds a sword in his left hand and a knife in his right hand. On the blade of the snow-deceiving knife, the white tiger pattern becomes increasingly clear. After killing so many bone-forging masters one after another, the energy accumulated by white tiger killer gathered to a terrifying level. Click. There was the sound of branches breaking. Han Yang suddenly looked towards the direction from which the sound came. Master, run away. The people who showed up were none other than the stern young man and elder Wu. Just now, the two of them arrived a step late and happened to see Han Yang killing 13 strong men with one sword. It simply made the two of them feel heartbroken. The peak of golden bones. Only those at the peak of the golden bone level bone forging can possess such combat power. The two of them fled almost without hesitation, I thought I could take the opportunity to sneak attack on the Blood Lotus Swordsman, but I was frightened by the Blood Lotus Swordsman's killing attack, whizzing. 2 more water swords shot out from the void, directly pinning the 2 of them to the ancient tree. Powerful in gathering energy, that if he was just shocked before, now he is really shocked, misunderstanding that the Blood Lotus Swordsman had advanced to chi gathering. The 2 of them lost the will to resist. Han Yang was naturally not polite. He stepped forward and killed the 2 of them with a single blow. The white tiger killing curse seal of the 4 symbols curse seal blade has 2 more strokes of blood. You coming or me? That the moment Han Yang put away his sword, the teasing voice of the Xianxian came to his ears. Han Yang didn't even know whether to laugh or cry. He put away his sword and retreated. After a few leaps, he stood hundreds of feet away. Just as he stood firm, the next moment, a flash of sword light came from the sky and struck directly at the place where the wine sword immortal was hiding. The surrounding space was exploded by this knife. The ancient tree where Xuanyu was hiding instantly fell apart and exploded into debris all over the sky. Powerful energy gathering. Only the sword energy with great energy gathering power can be so terrifying. Red flame sword Feng Hui, I remember you. Li Xuanyu's cold voice was filled with hatred. You once hunted me for 3 days and 3 nights, causing me not to take a shower for 3 days. I can't forgive you. Before he finished speaking, Li Xuanyu flicked his finger, and a drop of wine turned into a water sword and shot into the void. Li Xuanyu. It doesn't matter if you set foot to gather energy, I will kill you today. That the person who came was none other than the black-robed old man from Fenshin clan. When Li Xuanyu seriously injured Zhang Zhenyuan and others, his sword intention was deeply hidden. The 2 cold young men could not notice it even if they were close at hand, but as a black-robed old man in the chi-gathering realm, he was aware of this subtle sword intention even if he was dozens of miles away. The sword intent of the chi-gathering realm is completely different from that of the bone-forging realm. In addition, after Li Xuanyu exposed his chi-gathering cultivation, he completely let himself go and had no intention of hiding. He would be damned if he was not discovered. During the exchange of words, the sword energy and the water sword were intertwined. The hot sword energy caused mist to rise from the water sword. In the woods, the aroma of wine became stronger and stronger. Even Han Yang, who was hundreds of feet away, could smell the intoxicating aroma of wine. Is this ice drunk? Han Yang smelled the aroma of wine and couldn't help but feel something in his heart. At this time, the sword energy and water sword had already decided the winner. In the water sword, endless cold light suddenly rose. The surrounding area of dozens of feet was shrouded in mist. The sword energy that was the first to be exposed was actually frozen by the cold air. You are not new to chi gathering. The old man in black robe only had time to scream in surprise before his arm was pierced by the water sword. Amidst the clicking sound, half of his body was frozen. The old man in black robe who was in the chi-gathering realm couldn't maintain his body shape and fell directly from mid-air. With a thought in his mind, Han Yang suddenly stepped on the ground and shot at the opponent. He was going to make a big mistake. If it conceal the evil spirit of the next powerful person in the chi-gathering realm, the 4 symbols cursed seal sword will exert a power that will frighten everyone. Puff. The moment Han Yang jumped up, a jade-like palm smashed the ancient tree at Han Yang's feet. Hey, he actually ran away. A special fragrance spread to Han Yang along with the sound. Phoenix Mountain, the Earth-level genius Lan Baifeng appears. Chapter 77 Ice and Fire Showdown. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Han Yang doubled up in the air like a spiritual bird and appeared on an ancient tree, looking at Lan Baifeng with cold eyes. Danger. The feeling this woman gave him was quite dangerous. The aura of the black-robed old man in the chi-gathering realm was detected by Han Yang a few miles away, and this woman has already touched her side, but she hasn't even noticed it yet. You must know that although Han Yang only has the 5th level of bone forging, he has been reborn for the 9th time and has rich experience. His soul is especially powerful. It is almost impossible to avoid his perception, but this Lan Baifeng did it. Haha, he is indeed the son-in-law Xiaoyu found for his daughter. He is quite capable. A blue and white phoenix in a blue robe stood on the canopy of the tree, swaying in the wind, and its bright red tongue aggressively swept across its lips. Lan Baifeng, you are looking for death. Li Xuanyu, the powerful wine sword immortal who defeated Burning Heaven Clan's Chi-gathering realm with one move, fired out several water swords with his wave of his hand as if he had been stimulated by Lan Baifeng's appearance. The whistling water sword tore through the air, as if the space began to tremble. The body of the blue and white phoenix swayed, flickering and disappearing like a phantom. Boom boom boom. The ancient tree where she was previously was instantly torn into countless pieces by the water sword. The two of them were attacking and dodging at incredibly fast speeds. For a moment it was hard to tell the winner. What's going on? This cheap mother-in-law seems to be acting weird. It is obviously abnormal for a person with peak golden bones to be able to fight against the Xianxian of the Chi-gathering realm without dying in several moves. Although Lan Baifeng dodged quite awkwardly and was surrounded by dangers, his sword missed. Xuanyu was obviously angry. The sharp sword energy destroyed all the ancient trees within a few dozen feet. The sound of sword whistling that can only be heard when the air is split is everywhere in the void. Gan San, Kuan Wu, seeing that the Xianxian couldn't fight for a long time, Han Yang couldn't help but speak. Xuanyu continued to bombard him as if he hadn't heard anything. On the contrary, Lan Baifeng stumbled and was almost stabbed by an ice sword. Han Yang, who was stunned for a moment, said with a smile on his face, "Zhenba, Xuanyu." But Xuanyu still turned a blind eye. Stab. The next moment, Lan Baifeng hesitated, and her arm was cut open by the water sword. The terrifying ice energy almost froze her arm. Damn. You too, are you playing with me, right? Lan Baifeng's charming eyebrows suddenly raised, full of anger. That stupid boy obviously pointed you to the attack direction, but you didn't take action. You deliberately tricked me, right? She was really furious. I don't know what happened to Han Yang, but he was able to discover the weaknesses in his body skills. If Xianxian followed Han Yang's instructions, he might be seriously injured in just a few or two moves, so Lan Baifeng had to change his moves midway. As a result, what made her vomit blood was that Xianxian ignored Han Yang at all and did not follow Han Yang's instructions at all. As a result, her change of tactics immediately became a failure, resulting in a series of injuries. The Xianxian with fluttering clothes floated in the air like a fairy, and said in a detached tone, "Xuanyu, am against the enemy. Why do I need others to point fingers? Girl, you are not aloof, you are arrogant." Han Yang couldn't help but complain in his heart. The blue and white phoenix looked at Han Yang with trouble-like eyes. "And you kid, why didn't you fall down?" Han Yang chuckled and said, "You mean, the 3 mixed poisons you left beside me when you just appeared? I have to say, it is really overbearing, and its weight is comparable to a 1,000-year elixir. If you still use them all on me, the more, the merrier." This woman Lan Baifeng is really not an ordinary sinister person. As soon as he showed up before, he directly used a hidden hand and poisoned him, a junior at the 5th level of bone forging. It's a pity that the 9-turn star Jew swallows nothing. The 3 kinds of mixed poisons that can poison the power of gathering energy have become the nourishment of the power of the stars. Little monster. Lan Baifeng's eyes looked at Han Yang with a bit of morbid passion. "I originally thought you were the son-in-law Xiaoyu was looking for. I wanted to capture you and make you a concubine for fun. Now, you are qualified to be my aunt." "It's Mrs. Yazhai." Before she could finish her words, she suddenly pounced towards Han Yang, as fast as a giant. Without saying a word, Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, fired several more water swords, blocking Lan Baifeng's path. Han Yang glanced at Xuanyu and asked helplessly, "Senior sisterly, can you do it?" "If not, I'll do it." Xuanyu showed his jade hands and used more than a dozen water swords with overwhelming force, including Han Yang. Han Yang had no choice but to jump and dodge. Lan Baifeng shouted, "Xuanyu, have you forgotten that I beat you up? Are you looking for death?" One sentence seemed to greatly stimulate Xuanyu, who was like a fairy and rarely had mood swings. Her right hand grasped the hilt of the sword at her waist for the first time. "Ah!" The next moment, Lan Baifeng let out a shrill scream, and his breath changed suddenly. Her originally blue eyebrows with heavy makeup turned into snow white at this moment. Not only that, even the clothes on his body strangely changed from blue to white. Just like a blue lotus, it instantly turns into a white lotus in troubled times, and the aura on her body began to increase instantly. and she jumped directly from the bone-forging realm to the gas-gathering realm, and it's still rising, early stage of chi gathering. The middle stage of chi gathering. It wasn't until he reached the 6th level of chi gathering that he could stop. Xianxia, I haven't seen you for a long time. The blue and white phoenix changed from blue to white, as if it were a different person. The original morbidity and madness disappeared and became as peaceful as a fairy. She and Li Xuanyu, the wine and sword immortal, stood together, as if two female immortals were in the world, competing for beauty. Li Xuanyu seemed to have expected Lan Baifeng's change, and just said lightly, "Only you are qualified to take my sword." Han Yang's expression on the side was quite wonderful, blue and white. Phoenix. Blue phoenix, white phoenix. One is the peak of bone forging, and the other is, the peak of 6th level of chi gathering. One body and two souls can actually play like this. No wonder my cheap father-in-law was almost kidnapped back to be a village husband due to his carelessness. You think I forge bones, but actually I gather energy. Who can bear this? Could it be that, there is no Chu Ren Feng at all? Chu Ren Feng is by Feng, right? Han Yang's heart skipped a beat. I haven't seen you for a year. I hope you won't be beaten to the point of running away like a rat like before. That the character of Lan Baifeng in white clothes was obviously much more aloof, and he did not take Jiu's sword very seriously. Ah! The Zhenyuan chuckled and drew his sword. Zhenyuan. The dragon's roar sounded as the sword was unsheathed. A sword chi ice dragon roared out from the sword of wine sword immortal Li Xuanyu. Wherever the sword energy ice dragon passed, everything within a few hundred feet was frozen. Between heaven and earth, it seems as if a frozen world has descended. Shut up. What do you call bone forging? That the white-clothed Lan Baifeng first cursed as if muttering to himself, and then suddenly took action. Xianxia in white clothes uses an extremely domineering gun. In the slender jade hand, a spear was fired, and the sound of the phoenix echoed through the sky. The white flame energy turned into a raging phoenix, roaring towards the ice dragon. This world seems to have turned into a dual world of fire and ice. At this moment, Han Yang jumped down from the tree crown without hesitation. The Burning Heaven clan chi gathering power, whose body was half frozen, had just struggled to get up from the ground, but before he could make any reaction, a sword light quietly lit up beside him. Puff. The head flew into the air, and bright red blood sprayed into the world of ice and fire. Chapter 78, One Blow to Gather Energy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the snow-deceiving knife, the pattern of the four symbols cursed seal white tiger killing becomes increasingly clear. The original blood-red color turned into silver, and the whole white tiger on the blade seemed to come alive, full of power. There is even a hint of sword energy lingering in the blade. After devouring the energy and blood of a powerful energy gatherer, Baihu Sha finally revealed his ferocious side. Boom. Almost at the moment when Han Yang killed the Burning Heaven clan's energy gathering power, the ice and fire, dragon and phoenix in the void collided violently. Terrible shock waves swept across all directions. The ancient trees within 1,000 feet of the surrounding area were devastated by both ice and fire, and turned into powder one after another. Even the rocks couldn't withstand the energy of ice and fire, and exploded with explosions. Han Yang's robes were also blown by the strong wind. Outside Zhenyuan Valley, Lu Xiongfei and Feng Buping exchanged moves, retreated dozens of feet, and stopped at the same time. The fire phoenix is so powerful. Is it Chu Ren Feng from Phoenix Mountain who has arrived? Who is the one fighting her? Your Yuan sect actually has an ice power. Lu Xiongfei looked at Feng Buping in confusion. Feng Buping's expression changed and he did not answer Lu Xiongfei's question. Lu Xiongfei sneered, "Is there anyone in Zhenyuan Valley you want to kill?" Without waiting for Feng Buping to answer, he continued with a sneer, "For the sake of some grudge, I deliberately held back my hand in the war and allowed my Burning Heaven clan chi gathering power to enter Zhenyuan Valley and massacre your Yuan clan." Genius! Feng Buping, you are still so shameless. Feng Buping sneered and said, "Lu Manzi, is the argument of words interesting? Ha ha ha. I hope you can still laugh when all the geniuses of your Yuan men are slaughtered." Lu Xiongfei laughed proudly and pounced on him with his sword. Feng Buping, who remained silent, attacked again with a gun. Zhenyuan Valley is 100 miles away. Li Yuanyi, one of the 3 golden sons, had his robe stained with blood, his chest was rising and falling violently, but his eyes were boiling with fighting intent. Opposite him, 3 chi-gathering powers in burning heaven clan costumes attacked fiercely. Feeling the true meaning of ice and fire in Zhenyuan Valley, a burning heaven clan chi-gathering expert laughed wildly and said, Li Yuanyi, the human heart is not as good as a snake swallowing an elephant. Do you really think that your mere Yuan clan can defend the ruins? If you don't get out of the way, all the geniuses of the Yuan sect are about to die. Li Yuanyi said nothing, and his sword energy spread hundreds of feet across, leaving sword marks on the body of the maniacal laugher, knocking his laughter back into his stomach. Li Yuanyi. Now that Phoenix Mountain has intervened, if your Yuan sect is still stubborn, it will not be far from destruction. The chi-gathering power roared angrily. What answered him was Li Yuanyi's increasingly violent sword energy and sword intent. Half of the sky turned into the color of Li Yuanyi's sword energy. The 3 chi-gathering powers were actually suppressed by Li Yuanyi alone, and they were beaten back again and again. In Zhenyuan Valley, the bodies of Li Xuanyu and Lan Baifeng flashed one after another and left the battlefield. Li Xuanyu, 1 year has passed and you are nothing more than this. The blue and white phoenix in white clothes stood at the top of the tree crown, and the lower part of the clothes was frozen by the ice. Similarly, there were slight burn marks on the edges of Li Xuanyu's snow-white robe. The 2 of them competed against each other, but there was no winner. Ah! Li Xuanyu chuckled lightly, and a strange aura began to emit from his body. Under her feet, the originally frozen tree crown showed signs of slowly melting. A slight mist began to slowly rise around Li Xuanyu's body. Fire! Lan Baifeng, who had been expressionless since he appeared, showed surprise for the first time. Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, is world famous for his ice skills. During the bone forging stage, extremely special ice bones were condensed, but now, her body is actually emitting fire power. It seems that she is releasing a special seal. Woman! Just when Li Xuanyu was about to make a desperate move, Han Yang's voice rang in their ears, I'll do it. You? The white-clothed Lan Baifeng glanced at Han Yang, as if he had heard some big joke, and a smile appeared on his cold face. A junior with the 5th level of bone forging, who gave you the courage to swing a knife in front of my aunt. There was a smile on her lips, but the killing intent in Lan Baifeng, who was dressed in white, was boiling. When she was in blue, Lan Baifeng had a willful behavior and a crazy personality. She might just capture Han Yang and play with him, but Lan Baifeng in white clothes wanted to crush this ant who dared to show his teeth and claws to her. Li Xuanyu pursed his lips slightly, and with a bit of stubbornness and pride, he shouted coldly, I can do it. It's okay. Han Yang swore directly and said angrily, if you really could do it, you wouldn't have to drink ice drunk every day to suppress the fire power in your body. Drink until the ice bone condenses. You have opened my eyes. The expression on Li Xuanyu's fairy-like pure face couldn't help but froze. How do you know? Without answering Li Xuanyu's question, Han Yang continued to say calmly, you saved me twice, and I will give you a knife today. From now on, don't think about unlocking the seal. Han Yang didn't reveal more hidden secrets, forging bones at the age of 16, and gathering the 6th level of Qi at the age of 19. Such talents are hidden in the small Yuan men. It is impossible to say that Li Xuanyu has no secrets. However, he can't control too much. This knife was regarded as repaying the favor of blocking the tide of beasts for her outside Luo City that day. Can you beat her? Stop joking. Li Xuanyu stopped arguing, but there was a hint of disdain in his tone. Han Yang chuckled and said, today, I will show you what a man's sword is. You idiot. He is just as annoying as Zhenyuan. Just die. Half of the face of the blue and white phoenix in white clothes on the side was distorted, as if the blue and white phoenix in blue had reappeared, and it took action with anger, and the white flames burned all over the wasteland. Looking at the flames sweeping down, Han Yang shouted softly, first block the sword from me. As his furious voice sounded, a brilliant sword light shone brightly in the woods. Ouch! The roar of the white tiger shocked everyone. At the same time, crackling and popping sounds were heard one after another from Han Yang's body. Perineum, Yutang, Purple Palace, Tiantu. The 4 major acupoints exploded directly. the power of the stars rippling out of the hole spewed out like a blowout, gathered into the snow-deceiving knife, and then merged with by Husha. The wind follows the tiger, and the clouds follow the dragon. The roar of the tiger creates the wind. The four symbols cursed seal sword, white tiger slay, showed its grace in the form of sword energy for the first time. The silver-white tiger, carrying the turbulent wind, directly tore the unformed white flame phoenix into pieces. Then, under the unbelievable gaze of Lan Baifeng in white clothes, he hit her chest with unabated force. Her face was instantly distorted. His eyebrows and the clothes on his body turned blue for a while and then turned back to white. Bright red blood was also thrown out from her body. One blow, hurting the gathering energy. Lan Baifeng, who was able to compete with the Jiu sword fairy in white clothes, was actually wounded by Han Yang's knife. Li Xuanyu's beautiful eyes widened, looking at this scene in disbelief, and the wine gourd in his hand almost slipped off. This is so, is it so fierce? Why are you just standing there stupidly? Don't you understand that taking advantage of someone's illness can kill someone? Defeat her. Han Yang stood with his sword in hand and roared angrily. Chapter 79, A Terrifying Sword Shocks the Burning Heaven Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Kill you. I am going to kill you. At this time, the blue and white phoenix kept changing between blue and white, and the whole person seemed to be crazy. The people in blue tried to take action several times, but were blocked by the people in white. Seeing Han Yang standing with a knife in his hand, the white-robed Lan Baifeng's eyes were full of horror. If it was just Han Yang, she would naturally not be afraid. Even if he was seriously injured, she could kill him, but if Li Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, is added to the mix, then she is the only one who will perish if she continues to stay even though she is injured. Han Yang, I remember your name. I will kill you one day. Clothes fluttered, and after a few flashes, the figure of Lan Baifeng disappeared immediately. Li Xuanyu originally wanted to catch up and kill this old rival, but seeing Han Yang motionless, he finally stopped. He's gone, you don't have to hold on. When he returned to Han Yang, Li Xuanyu discovered that Han Yang still had his eyes open and was standing motionless, leaning on his knife. Is this coma? But when he found that Han Yang was unconscious and still holding on, Lan Baifeng was frightened away, and Li Xuanyu was speechless for a while. If Lan Baifeng knew the truth, he would probably explode with anger. She waved her sleeves, wrapped the unconscious Han Yang and disappeared. After a while, two figures suddenly appeared. It was Lu Xiongfei and Feng Buping. There is actually a third person who seriously injured Chu Renfeng with a knife. Your Yuan men are really secretive. Lu Xiongfei's expression was a little more solemn, and his voice was extremely fearful, as the Yuan sect produced a powerful person who can compete with Chu Renfeng from Fenghuang Mountain. This is definitely not good news for Burning Heaven Clan. Chu Renfeng, that is the 6th level of Qi gathering. Feng Buping frowned slightly. He found a familiar feeling in the brutal knife intent at the scene, but he was quickly denied by himself. No matter how talented that kid is, there is no way he can participate in a battle at the Qi gathering power level. Do you still want to fight? He stood with a gun in hand and looked at Lu Xiongfei indifferently. Lu Xiongfei sneered and said, what a fight. That one of your Yuan sect slashed Chu Renfeng from Phoenix Mountain with a shocking sword, who dares to do it easily at this time? It's such a good plan, hidden so deep. Feng Buping was non-committal. Naturally, he would not expose his own shortcomings and told Lu Xiongfei that there were no hidden masters of swordsmanship in Yuan men. The war is over, but the Yuan men shouldn't even think about monopolizing the ruins. Let's negotiate. After leaving a sentence, Lu Xiongfei's figure flickered and left the place. A terrifying strong man who could seriously injure Chu Renfeng with one strike was enough to frighten all the sects that coveted the ruins. It is impossible to fight a war. Neither Phoenix Mountain nor Burning Heaven Clan will start another Qi gathering battle until they find out the identity and specific strength of that sword master. The roaring sword of the White Tiger made all the Qi gathering masters around Zhenyuan Valley feel lingering fear. If it were them, they might have been killed by that knife. Chu Renfeng was injured but did not die, which is already considered very terrible. After this battle, the names of Yuanmen's mysterious swordsman and Chu Renfeng will definitely be heard throughout the 8 gates of Nanjun. In a certain cave, Han Yang, who was in a coma, vaguely felt a cool liquid being poured from his mouth. he subconsciously ran the 9-turn star technique and transformed it into the power of the stars. After a moment, he opened his eyes suddenly. He discovered that Xuanyu, the wine swordsman, was holding his neck with one hand and holding a wine gourd with the other hand, pouring wine into his mouth. Seeing him waking up, Xuanyu immediately put the wine gourd back. "Ha, I just said it would be effective. Ice drunkenness has always been miraculous in suppressing injuries." Xuanyu said with a smile, "I am indeed very smart." Han Yang grinned suddenly and moved his lips, wanting to curse, "Ice drunk, what a terrible fairy wine," not to mention that Han Yang only had the 5th level of bone forging. Even if he was imbued with so much chi gathering power, he would probably freeze to death. If he didn't have the 9-turn star technique to protect him, he would have been tortured to death by this ignorant stupid woman. However, the effect of this fairy wine is indeed good. Among the 4 acupoints that were exploded previously, most of the perineal acupoints have recovered. Liquor. Han Yang murmured one word. He had previously self-destructed 4 acupoints, and then used the chi-gathering white tiger kill to seriously injure Lan Baifeng. He also exhausted his energy and was left half disabled. Without a dozen or 20,000-year-old elixir, it would be basically impossible to recover. The effect of ice drunk is definitely better than the 1,000-year-old elixir. The expression on Xuanyu's face was obviously hesitant. He pouted and said after a long while, "There's not much left, I can only give you half a bottle. Without Han Bing Zui, I won't be able to suppress the seal." After saying that, he put the wine gourd into Han Yang's mouth again with a look of reluctance. "It's not that you can't suppress the seal, you're just purely addicted to alcohol and can't bear to part with good wine." Han Yang cursed in his heart and drank the ice in a big gulp. Looking at Han Yang's Adam's apple that kept swallowing, Xuanyu licked his lips subconsciously, with pitiful eyes like a child who had been deprived of his treasure. After 1 day and 1 night, Han Yang drank half the gourd of ice and became drunk, so he stopped drinking. Because this ice drunk is too precious, he doesn't want to owe this woman another favor. Even so, his injuries have fully recovered. After another 3 to 5 days of cultivation, the injuries in the orifice points will basically be recovered. This is the ice drunkenness of the wine sword immortal. Otherwise, if he relied solely on the 1,000-year elixir, he would need at least 20 of them. It has to be an extremely high-grade elixir. Is our mission accomplished? Lan Baifeng was seriously injured and it was almost impossible to recover within 3 to 5 months. Han Yang felt that his and Xuanyu's mission was completed. Those powerful chi gatherers of Yuan men are really a sinkhole. If it weren't for Lan Baifeng's 2 souls, she would be able to take down the entire Yuan sect by herself under special circumstances. The great masters of the Kuei-Yuan sect were still planning to ambush Lan Baifeng. It is true that the ignorant have no fear. Xuanyu blinked. It should be completed. Seeing the smug look on her face, Han Yang knew that his question was in vain. This woman spends her days drinking ice drunk, which can intoxicate her with energy-gathering powers. It's a good thing she didn't become a fool after drinking. Trying to figure out the mission from her was in vain. Picking up the blood lotus mask that was placed aside, Han Yang stood up and said, "Let's go back to the temporary headquarters and have a look." Xuanyu, the wine sword immortal, waved his hand and said with a pout, "You can go back by yourself. After drinking so much wine, I almost have no more to drink. Forget it, I'll go make some wine." After saying that, he jumped directly into the woods without saying goodbye to Han Yang. Han Yang was not surprised that the woman was confused and walked towards the cave exit. Aha! However, the next moment, Xuanyu's graceful figure appeared again like a ghost. She looked directly into Han Yang's eyes and asked drunkenly, "To tell you the truth, did you fall in love with me because you risked everything to save me?" Before Han Yang could answer, she thought to herself and said, "Let me tell you first, it is impossible for me to marry you, well, let alone be your concubine." Roll. Han Yang finally couldn't hold it back any longer. The image of the Xianxian as a free and unrestrained person in his mind had completely collapsed. This is not a wine swordsman. He is clearly an alcoholic and a fool. Sigh. Beauty is a curse, and it's not my fault that I am so beautiful. It's hard to give up on your natural beauty. When you look back, you will be charming. Xuanyu disappeared outside the cave, and the sound he left behind made the corners of Han Yang's mouth twitch. I have seen narcissistic people, but I have never seen such narcissistic people. This drunkard is really. He stepped out of the cave, and there were 4 figures waiting outside. Greetings to Senior Brother Blood Lotus, that the 4 of them saluted together, their eyes full of fanatical admiration. The author has something to say, please give me a reward and a 5-star review. Chapter 80, Zhenyuan Gate in the Name of Blood Lotus. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Han Yang glanced at these 4 people in surprise and found that these 4 people were actually geniuses in the Jade Bone realm, but at this time, the 4 people's attitude towards him was extremely respectful. After thinking for a while, he realized that part of the previous achievements of the Blood Lotus Swordsman had been exposed. Brother Blood Lotus, the princes have been waiting at the temporary headquarters for a long time. Please come with me. That a 7th-level Jade Bone disciple respectfully led the way. Han Yang savored the name they called him, Senior Brother Blood Lotus. From this point of view, the last sword attack on Lan Baifeng should not have been exposed yet, otherwise, the title of this group of people at this time should not be Senior Brother, at least they should all be Senior Uncle. However, the vest of the Blood Lotus Swordsman is basically useless, as its reputation is too great. If the Blood Lotus Swordsman dares to leave Xianxia Valley and appear in the sight of Burning Heaven Clan or Phoenix Mountain, these 2 forces will definitely send Qi gathering powers to chase him down. After this battle, the Blood Lotus Swordsman's reputation was not even inferior to that of the Wine Swordsman. Brother Blood Lotus, can you tell us about the final battle? A female disciple who was at the peak of the 6th level of bone forging asked carefully with a bit of anxiety and longing. Although the Blood Lotus Swordsman is only in the bone forging realm, his reputation has already made these geniuses look up to him. What could Han Yang say? He just said calmly, it's just a sword swing. It's just swinging a sword. Hearing these words, the 4 Jade Bone genius disciples worshipped him even more. He is worthy of being a fearless swordsman who slashed Duan Chongsheng with his sword and destroyed more than a dozen geniuses and protectors of the Burning Heaven clan. Just one sentence carries an unparalleled scent of blood. If Han Yang knew what these junior brothers and sisters were thinking, he would probably laugh 3 times. Greetings to Senior Brother Blood Lotus. Senior Brother Blood Lotus, wherever Han Yang passed, all Yuanmen disciples stopped and bowed, even some elders at the 8th or 9th level of bone forging nodded in greeting with a respectful attitude. Since the ruins of Xianxia Valley appeared, many members of the Yuan clan have died in their battles with the Burning Heaven clan. More than 10 Jade Bone geniuses have died in the hunting of Burning Heaven clan. Nearly 20 defenders were killed. Every Yuanmen elder and disciple has a fire in his heart, but his skills were inferior to those of others, and he could only watch helplessly as the geniuses of the Burning Heaven clan hunted unscrupulously in Xianxia Valley, until the Blood Lotus Swordsman came out. Almost single-handedly, he destroyed all the Burning Heaven clan members in Xianxia Valley, to avenge previous shame, avenge all the fallen and injured in Yuanmen. Such brilliant achievements left everyone in awe, especially those whose relatives or disciples died in Xianxia Valley. They are as grateful to the Blood Lotus Swordsman as they are to their benefactors. Fortunately, no expression could be seen under the Blood Lotus mask, otherwise Han Yang would probably have stiff facial muscles when smiling. Greetings to Senior Brother Blood Lotus. In front of the Yuanmen headquarters in Xianxia Valley, dozens of Yuanmen elders and disciples all saluted. Regardless of their level of cultivation, everyone respectfully calls Han Yang Senior Brother. Han Yang maintained the indifferent persona of the Blood Lotus Swordsman and just nodded silently. The 4 genius disciples who were previously ordered to take care of Han Yang felt even more proud, and their chests became much taller. Inside the cabin, Tianji, Feng Buping, the 2 deputy sect leaders, as well as Li Yuanyi, Du Han and other powerful Qi gatherers were all present. Hearing the cheers outside, Tianji and others were all smiling. Tianji even nodded and said, Shuai Lian deserves this honor. Without him, our Yuan sect's younger generation of geniuses would have lost more than half this time. Although all this is a plan discussed by Tianji and others, let the Jiu Sword Immortal and the Blood Lotus Swordsman join forces to ambush the Fenchen clan genius. But Han Yang undoubtedly overfulfilled this task. Not only did he kill all the geniuses in Xianxia Valley, but even Duan Chongsheng, Zhang Ziyuan and other first-class geniuses of Burning Heaven clan fell into his hands. No one can erase this meritorious service. On the side, Su Ziren, who looked slightly pale, also said sincerely, I long for it. I wish I could be there at that time and fight side by side with Blood Lotus. As one of the few disciples who knew the inside story, Xianxia clenched his sword tightly, his fingers clicking, and it was very hard to endure. Others only knew that the Blood Lotus Swordsman and the Jiu Sword Immortal teamed up to ambush Duan Chongsheng and others from the Fenchen sect, but he vaguely guessed that this Blood Lotus Swordsman might be Han Yang. One disappeared and the other appeared. It was too much of a coincidence. If this is the case, then Han Yang, a new disciple, is going too far. First, he killed the earth-level genius Shao Xian in Xiao Bielia's hands, and then transformed into a Blood Lotus Swordsman, and then did such a big thing. He is simply a model for our generation. He is the one who agrees with Su Xiren's words the most. He wishes he could have been there at that time, fighting side by side with Blood Lotus, no, with Han Yang. That's what a man should do. Blood Lotus, well done. Just as the 5 people stepped onto the wooden steps in front of the headquarters cabin, a middle-aged man dressed as an elder came up to them. Han Yang still nodded silently as usual. Unexpectedly, the elder grabbed Han Yang's arm, raised his arms and shouted, "Blood Lotus, win the battle." The elders and disciples below, as if they had been given blood, raised their arms and shouted, "Blood Lotus, win the battle." In the Zhenyuan valley, the sound of the Blood Lotus's victory resounded in all directions, making the ancient trees tremble. Han Yang originally thought that the elder was just too excited and wanted to inspire people, and that would be the end of it. Unexpectedly, the elder continued to speak. "Everyone. Blood Lotus has repeatedly done extraordinary things and made great contributions. Do you want to see him? His true face." Hearing this, the dozens of people below became increasingly excited. Since the Blood Lotus Swordsman was born 5 years ago, he has been wearing a Blood Lotus mask and is mysterious. No one wants to know who he is. Now being provoked by this elder, many young disciples shouted excitedly, "Unmask! Unmask!" The crowd was buzzing, and everyone's emotions were aroused, but Han Yang's eyes became much colder. He turned back and stared at the elder who was still holding his arm. The elder smiled and said, "Blood Lotus, do you see it? This is the unanimous voice of the Yuan men. At this time of crisis, if you reveal your true face, it will be a great encouragement to everyone. Everyone, don't you?" The second half of the sentence was spoken to the other disciples around him. Elder Fong is right. Senior brother Blood Lotus, you are the hero of my Yuan sect. Let us see your style. Some disciples who didn't know the truth were still making noises. Nonsense. This Fong Tangjin. How dare he be so reckless? Tianji, Li Yuanyi, and others all changed their expressions, and Su Xiren stood up suddenly, preparing to stop Fong Tang from entering. The Blood Lotus Swordsman has killed so many geniuses and elders of the Burning Heaven clan. Once his true colors are revealed, he will definitely become the target of public criticism. This elder Fong is just nonsense. But Fong Buping chuckled and stopped Su Xiren. "Of course, you heard it too. This is the unanimous voice of the sect disciples. Why do you have to act like a villain and disturb the interest of the big guys?"